Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Yes. It's like,
There you go. Now you're on.
okay. Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee and staff. My name is Dr. Joe Linder-Crow. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the California Psychological Association. CPA is the umbrella membership organization for psychologists in California. We have over 4,000 psychologists and graduate student members who provide psychological services in the state. We thank the committee for the opportunity to testify today. We are in full support of a full extension for the California Board of Psychology. It's very important that there be an independent Board of Psychology to license and oversee the work of the only doctoral level mental health profession in the state. CPA works with the board on issues of common interest. We have representation at each meeting of the Board of Psychology. We work with the board as a partner to ensure that psychologists have the latest information on any regulatory changes affecting them. We are interested in ensuring the highest possible standards for training and education in the state, and we have advocated consistently for a full complement of board members, both psychologists and public members, and an increased number of staff positions to ensure that psychologist applications for licensure and renewals, as well as disciplinary actions, are being processed in a timely manner. We are particularly interested in the actions of the board regarding the establishment of the telepsychology guidelines, as you were just discussing, the establishment of a retired category of license for psychologists. Right now, if a psychologist retires, their license is listed as being delinquent. And so we're very supportive of that change. Also, the changes to the continuing education requirements. And, excuse me, specifically, in relation to the question of the approved schools, the California Psychological Association fully supports the committee recommendation to establish graduation from a regionally accredited institution as a requirement for licensure in California. Allowing graduates of approved schools to sit for licensure puts California out of step nationally. And graduates of these programs, as was mentioned by Dr. Phillips, are limited in their ability to be licensed in other states and to participate fully in national organizations, other professional organizations, such as the American Psychological Association. My organization sponsored AB 400 in 2000 to change this practice, and we want to work with the board and the legislature to finally make this change. We applaud the executive officer of the board for her actions that have greatly reduced the licensing times for psychologists, and the board members for their careful attention to issues of patient protection. We hope to see this continue through a full extension of the board. We look forward to assisting in any way we can. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. As you may be aware, we currently have some legislation by one of my colleagues, Chris Holden, who raised the issue about asking for exemptions for MS, PhD degree holders from unaccredited BPPE-approved institutions. Do you have thoughts on that current legislation before us?
You know, we're just now working our way through the myriad of bills that have to do with mental health. We have supported this change for a long time now, and we'll be looking at that bill and also at the sunset bill to see what happens with the committee recommendation. But we do really support this change, and we do support regional accreditation, not just national accreditation.
Got it. Thank you. And that'd be, well, I know we have various boards that have regional accreditation as
Yes,
well.
I understand.
That rely on the national standard, which we heard about earlier this morning.
Yes.
But no, thank you for your testimony. Absolutely. I think you're pretty much in agreement with each of the staff recommendations outlined. I know you went through some of them, the guidelines, retired licensure, the educational requirements, et cetera.
Yes. Yes, we support, I think, all of the recommendations that have come forward. We would be in support of and happy to help in any way we can. I look forward to working with the committee and with the board. We have a very, unlike some jurisdictions, we have a very positive relationship with our Board of Psychology and very much respect the board and the work they do.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let me ask if there's any other organizations. Let me ask if there's any public comment on this. Hearing and seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to our next item, item number 5. Review of the Board of Behavioral Sciences. With us, panel 1, if you could join us. Christina Wong, Board Chair, Deborah Brown, Board Vice Chair, Kim Madsen, Executive Officer, Steve Sodergreen, Assistant Executive Officer. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. Okay. Well, we have 2 of you. All right, thank you. Please begin.
Good afternoon, Assembly Member Salas, members of the committee, and committee staff. My name is Christina Wong. I'm one of the 2 licensed clinical social workers appointed to the board and currently the chair of the Board of Behavioral Sciences. With me today is the board's executive officer, Kim Madsen. We would like to thank the committee staff for their work and assistance during sunset review process. We also appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today to share with you the work of the board since our last sunset review and response to the issues identified by the committee. Over 70 years ago, legislation was introduced to begin a process of standardizing services rendered by social workers. Assembly Bill 1812 established the Board of Social Work Examiners, and California became the first state in the United States to register social workers. Since 1945, 3 new mental health professionals were added to the board's regulatory responsibilities. The board is now called the Board of Behavioral Sciences. Today, the board provides regulatory oversight to over 105,000 licensed clinical social workers, licensed marriage and family therapists, licensed professional clinical counselors, and licensed educational psychologists. The composition of the board includes 6 licensed members and 7 public members. The board's mission is to protect and serve Californians by setting, communicating, and enforcing standards for safe and competent mental health practice. A team of 53 staff members is dedicated to ensure the board's mission is accomplished through the development and administration of licensing examinations, investigating consumer complaints and criminal convictions, sponsoring legislation that responds to emerging changes and trends in mental health, and creating publications for consumers, students, and licensees. In 70 years, there have been many changes in mental health professional and at the board. Mental health registrants and licensees are employed in different settings, such as health facilities, mental health agencies, schools, or private practice. The mental health practice has expanded to include competencies that address the diverse population of California. Yet the mission of the board has remained constant, protecting consumer and setting and enforcing licensure standards. We look forward to continuing our work. At this time, I would like to introduce our board's executive officer, Kim Madsen, who will discuss and address the issues noted at the committee's background paper.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Salas, committee members, and committee staff. I am Kim Madsen, and I'm going to respond to the questions and issues that were presented in the background paper for the Sunset Review. The first question is the board receiving assistance from DCA to ensure efficient operations? The board's one of 40 regulatory entities within the Department of Consumer Affairs. The board receives administrative support from DCA. However, all daily operations are performed by board staff. However, in 2013, the board did utilize the services of the DCA call center to assist the board with a high volume of calls during the transition to Breeze. And once this transition period was complete, the board ceased using the call center. I'll now respond to the 4 issues that were presented. Issue number 2, how will the implementation of the exam restructure impact licensing and application process? And does the BBS anticipate any delays? The short answer is no, it won't. The evaluation of hours to qualify for the law and ethics exam has not affected application and licensing processing times. However, to ensure that the board maintains reasonable processing times for all applications, the board requested and received 2 staff positions in fiscal year 15-16 for the examination restructure. These 2 positions are dedicated to the examination unit and will process all law and ethics applications. Further, the board has requested additional staff positions for fiscal year 16-17. 3 of these positions are currently, well, all of the positions are included in the current governor's budget. 3 of the positions are dedicated specifically to the workload created by the examination restructure. At this time, the board does not anticipate any unusual delays associated with the examination restructure. The next issue is supervised hours required for licensure. Specifically, how does the board verify that individuals have completed the required supervised hours? How does the BBS verify that licensed supervisors are not supervising or employing more than 3 BBS registered interns or associates at one time? And has the BBS received any complaints regarding this particular issue? Currently, the work of the Supervision Committee is to identify areas to improve the quality of supervision as well as oversight. Right now, each applicant must submit a experience verification form to the board for review and approval. The form is completed by the applicant and the applicant's supervisor and documents the number of supervised hours gained, the dates the hours were gained, and the dates of supervision. Board staff reviews the information to ensure compliance with licensure requirements. If additional information is required, the applicant's weekly log documenting the supervised hours, which is signed by the supervisor, is requested. The board does not currently identify supervisors or their place of employment, nor does the board capture any data related to an intern's place of employment. Interns may have several different employment settings and several different supervisors to gain their supervised hours. Considering this current process of gaining hours and the lack of data, the board is unable to verify the supervisor-intern ratio, and to date, we have had no complaints on this matter. The next issue is why does the board's overall enforcement workload continue to increase? Unfortunately, when you have a rise in population, so does the work in the enforcement unit rises. It just almost goes hand in hand. Yet, I'd like to point out that the board is consistently meeting the CPEI performance measures within its control. And I specifically want to point to Performance Measure 2, Complaint Intake, and Performance Measure 3, Average Time to Complete Investigations Not Referred to the AG. And I will mention that in the background paper on page 9, I believe, of the table, which we have our performance measures, there is an error. Performance Measure 3 is listed as 80 days. It should be 180 days. Performance Measure 2 is listed as 7 days. It should be 5. So consistently, we've been meeting both of those measures. Since the 3rd quarter of fiscal year 14-15, the board has either met this goal or exceeded Performance Measure 2. For Performance Measure 2, the goal is 180 days. And since 14-15, to the end of this 1st quarter in fiscal year 15-16, the board has exceeded this goal, ranging from a high of 142 days to a low of 71 days. The board would like to acknowledge the committee's suggestion that consideration should be given to establishing an advisory committee dedicated to enforcement-related matters. And in response to this suggestion, the following details some of the changes since 14-15 to the board's enforcement program to improve efficiency. With the additional staff we received in 14-15, we reorganized the enforcement program to create 2 units to provide increased staff oversight, training, and program evaluation. We have assigned 2 staff positions to monitor all cases that are referred for formal discipline at the AG's office, and this is done in an effort to achieve Performance Measure 4. We've revised the referral of cases for discipline to include board settlement terms when it's appropriate to, again, achieve Performance Measure 4. We've increased our pool of subject matter experts to review all our enforcement cases. And we've revised our procedure for closing non-jurisdictional cases. And ongoing, the board's enforcement managers continue to evaluate the day-to-day operations and procedures to identify opportunities to increase our efficiency. And all of the enforcement unit's work in progress is reported at each quarterly board meeting. The committee also inquired whether or not the board has used the authority granted in Business and Professions Code Section 4990.10 to help maintain professional standards. This code section states that the board may conduct research in and make studies of problems involved in the maintaining of professional standards among those engaged in the professions it licenses and may publish its recommendations thereon. The very nature of the board's work is to establish and ensure licensees meet professional standards to deliver mental health services safely to consumers. The board accomplishes this task through legislative and regulatory proposals and developing outreach materials for consumers as well as for all licensees and registrants. Prior to any change proposed, the board works with its stakeholders through a series of meetings to discuss the proposed changes to collectively identify a solution that ensures consumer protection and professional standards. Additionally, the board staff will conduct research on all topics being discussed. The research can be just looking at what other states are requiring, reviewing articles and data relevant to the topic, and conducting informal surveys. Some of those actions, recent proposals include the revision to our supervised work experience requirements to eliminate the various categories in which the applicant had to obtain supervised work experience. We developed informational sheets, published them on our website, and we noticed it in our winter 2015 and winter 2016 newsletters. And we've revised the examination process and followed the same procedure. When we revised the continuing education program, we followed the same process, and we are currently in the midst of proposing regulations to set standards for the practice of telehealth. Should those regulations be successful, we'll follow the same procedure. Finally, the issue of continuing education audits. And do we have a process to audit continuing education? Yes, we do, finally. As of January 2016, the board resumed auditing licensing's continuing education hours. The goal currently is to audit 1% of the renewal population each month for each license type. Each audit is expected to take approximately 2 months from the date that the first letter is sent. Licensees who fail the audit will be referred to the enforcement unit for issuance of a citation and fine. The first audit closed on March 16. Currently, our CE analyst is preparing the files to refer the licensees who failed the audit to the enforcement unit to issue a citation and fine. And during this first audit period, we audited 28 licensees. Of this number, 10% failed the audit, or approximately 36%. The second audit has already begun. Notification letters were sent out on March 1st to 39 licensees, and all responses are due by April 1st. I'd like to point out that the January audit was the first audit conducted since fiscal year 13-14. And going forward, we will do a minimum of 1% of the renewal population for each license type. And we anticipate completing by the end of this fiscal year 150 audits for each license type. And I want to thank the committee for their time today, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. And it seems like you guys are in alignment with the recommendations as outlined in the draft paper as well. I didn't hear anything that was dissenting from what was recommended. They did have just a couple of questions because you did bring up the additional positions and the budgeting, and so the 2016-2017 budget proposal is increased. And if you could just expand why that increase is needed and what you hope to accomplish with that.
Yes. During that series of the unusual events that occurred here in California with the California budget furloughs, a new licensing profession to regulate, the board found itself in a position of insufficient resources. And in 14-15, we did get some more staff positions, but by that time, a severe application backlog had developed. Some of those individuals were waiting 9 months to get into the exam. And so what we did is we ended up entering into an agreement with the Department of Consumer Affairs to borrow additional staff to bring those on to help us with that licensing backlog in addition to the new staff that we got in 14-15. That project was so successful in reducing in a very short period of time from 9 months to less than 60 days that we felt there was great value in continuing with those staff positions. And so the bulk of the positions that we're requesting for 16-17 are to make permanent those positions that we have borrowed or positions that were temporary that we received in 14-15 and keep those ongoing because the workload is there. So that is why we're requesting the additional staff. 3 of the new positions within the current request are specific to the workload that will be created from the exam restructure, specifically mail, phone support, cashiering, and then to approve requests for testing accommodations pursuant to the ADA.
Got it. So with this budget increase, then, will we be at the levels that will be sufficient so we don't see these delays that you're talking about, and we will?
Absolutely, and that's the reason I wanted to make that temporary staff permanent, because without them, we will slip back. I mean, they were instrumental in helping reduce and eliminate that backlog. They're instrumental in continuing to ensure that that backlog doesn't rise to unacceptable levels.
Got it. So I do have another question here. Let me ask this question. The BBS reported that the percentage of expenditures spent on DCA pro rata is as follows: 17% in 2011-2012, right? 20% in 13-14, 20% in 14-15, and projected 19% for 15-16. Can you explain the services BBS received from the DCA for its share of the pro rata cost? And in the past, the BBS has had to borrow staff from the DCA. Were these borrowed positions covered under the pro rata?
To answer the last question, no, the borrowed positions were not covered under the pro rata. We reallocated funds from our existing budget to pay for that staff.
Got it.
In terms of why the pro rata is growing, primarily it's due to Breeze. Additionally, it also, because of the way the pro rata is figured or developed, it's based on your staffing resources. So as you get more staff, your pro rata goes up. And the services that we get, by and large, we're pretty happy with them. We've used the Office of Public Affairs to create video tutorials that are now on our website. We're working with them now to develop a new logo. They've published and printed a lot of our newsletters. So yes, and generally, if we need anything above and beyond the general request, DCA is fairly supportive.
Got it. And your interaction with the Breeze program, that's been?
We were release 1. So, you know, that first child syndrome. So we've actually.
Growing with the program.
Yeah. So we know what to do with the second one. So I would say that our experience has been pretty positive with Breeze. It wasn't without its challenges or bumps, but we had really developed a good infrastructure when it first was released to accommodate some of those challenges. We've been able to get in and revise some of our processes to accommodate with the new database. And if I have any complaint, it's the changes we would like implemented aren't getting implemented fast enough, but we understand that we have to wait our turn.
Got it. I just wanted to follow up on a question we asked earlier about unaccredited.
Oh, all of our, no, all the applicants have to attend an accredited school, either, regionally like a WASC or some entity that's recognized by the United States Department of Education.
Got it. Thank you. See if questions from the dais. Okay. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to share?
Thank you, and I appreciate the recommendation for an extension for 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Let me go ahead and bring up the second panel, which is the professional groups, organizations, and individuals, please.
Mr. Chair and members, Tim Shannon representing the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. We're one of the professional groups that's regulated by the BBS, and I know your day has been long and I will be brief. I just want to say we're here in support of the extension. I've worked with the association since 1998, representing over 32,000 marriage and family therapists in the state, and the relationship that we have with the board is good. They're very accessible. Director Madsen, as you can see, really understands her board very well. She has good answers to all your questions. There was a serious issue that was facing the profession a few years ago. There was a huge backlog in applications, and they've done a very good job in turning that around. We were very supportive of the extra staff and the ingenuity in getting extra staff to clear that backlog. So I just wanted to say we do support extending their life another 4 years, and would be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, well, thank you, appreciate that. Additional testimony from anyone? Please join us. Thank you. It's on.
My name is Deborah Brown. I'm the Vice Chair of the BBS Board, and just here to tell you how much we support the board. I've been on there for 4 years in the direction and under the direction of Kim Metzen, and please extend our life. They're doing a great job, and we're here to support them.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
And my name's Patricia Lack-Dawson. I'm also on the board. I'm going on my 7th year. And I do want to ask for your support as well for an extension. As the mother of 3 girls who I've had use mental health services, as an elected member of a school board down south who extends mental health services to our students, and as a consumer of them myself over time, I can really attest to the value that this board provides to the consumers of the state of California in keeping them safe. We very much take that direction very seriously. Ms. Madsen and her staff are very conscientious. They work very, very hard to ensure that they reach their mission. So I can't say enough good things about them. So appreciate your support. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your service, for everyone's service on the board, especially as we look forward. I know we addressed some of the issues in terms of access, right, and how we access that, whether that's through technology, through the teleprograms for BBS and some of the others as well, but how we ensure that we make sure that we're providing that access, especially to whether it's a rural area, underserved, but everyone from, you know, the top of the state to the bottom of the state. I know we talked about Yolo County and some of the others as well. So appreciate that. I didn't hear too much dissension from what the staff recommendations were from the draft report. So let's go ahead and move on unless there's public comment. Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, review of the Veterinary Medical Board. So I have the first panel come before us. I believe we have Mr. Mark Nunez, Board President, David Johnson, Board Member, Kathy Bowler, Board Member, Anne Marie Del Ugnayo, Executive Officer. Joining us.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda.
Yes, thank you for being here all day.
Thank you. When we were preparing for our presentation, we thought it would be a nice touch to present each and every one of you with a puppy and a kitten, but you probably would have to report it on Form 700, and I dare say most of you probably already have pets yourself.
Well, thank you for watching out for the members of the committee and their reporting requirements.
My name is Mark Nunez. I am a small animal practitioner that means dogs and cats in Hollywood, California, and I am the current board president. Created in 1893, the Veterinary Medical Board licenses and regulates veterinarians, registered veterinary technicians, RVTs, RVT schools/programs, veterinary premises/hospitals, and veterinary assistants who administer controlled substances through the enforcement of the California Veterinary Medical Practice Act. The board is composed of 8 members, 4 veterinarians, 1 RVT, and 3 public members. The board has 1 statutorily mandated advisory committee, the Multidisciplinary Advisory Committee, or MDC. The composition of the MDC is 9 members, 5 licensed veterinarians, 3 registered veterinary technicians, and 1 public member, which includes 1 veterinarian member of the board and the RVT member of the board, who are both voting members of the MDC. The board's mission is to protect consumers and animals by regulating licensees, promoting professional standards, and diligent enforcement of the California Veterinary Medical Practice Act. The pet-owning public expects that the providers of their pets' health care are well-trained and are competent to provide these services. The board assures the public that veterinarians and RVTs possess the level of competence required to perform these services. If the committee wishes to hear some specific examples of what the board does to meet its mission, I can give you those specific examples, or I can move on.
Okay, perhaps we'll ask questions, follow up, and touch on some of them.
Today, the board licenses approximately 12,086 veterinarians and 6,424 RVTs. The board also currently registers 3,636 veterinary premises. The board is a special fund agency. Its funding comes from the licensing fees of veterinarians and registration fees of RVTs and veterinary premises. The board is funded for 23.8 positions in 2015-16 and 21.3 positions ongoing. The board's operating budget is approximately $4.7 million, with anticipated expenditures of $4,686,000 for fiscal year 2015-16. The board is mandated to maintain a fund reserve of at least 3 months of expenditures, but not more than 10 months. The fund reserve for 2015-16 is 7 months and 5 months for budget year 2016-2017. So what has changed since the board last came up before Sunset Review? For many years, the Veterinary Medical Board struggled to meet its enforcement mandates and respond to changes in the profession, as it was understaffed and overwhelmed with operational demands. While the board has endured major transitions in the past 2 years, include hiring a new executive officer in late 2013 and enduring a significant, close to 75% staff turnover, the board has been able to accomplish many of its goals and has made significant progress in addressing long-standing issues it faced as identified in its supplemental Sunset report. In July 2014, the board was appropriated 11 new staff, which nearly doubled its staff size and provided a tremendous opportunity for making progress in a number of struggling program areas, including tackling an enforcement backlog, pursuing the list of pending regulatory proposals, bolstering a fledgling hospital inspection program, addressing RVT education/training issues, and planning for the transition to the BREEZE program. In 2015, the board adopted its new strategic plan, which maps a new direction for the board to focus on outreach and education, using all available mediums to reach its stakeholders. The strategic plan documents the importance of the board's enforcement efforts and includes goals to maximize recourse against unlicensed persons to protect animal patients and expedite all disciplinary case actions through proactive management of Division of Investigation and Attorney General Services to reduce the average disciplinary case timeframes. Some of the more recent accomplishments are improved customer outreach via social media and website updates, BREEZE online transactions, webinars for hospital inspectors, presentations before local professional organizations, a reduction of complaint processing timelines, online posting of all disciplinary documents. We've accomplished 3 times the number of hospital inspections in 2014 than the previous year. Implementation of a new RVT examination, updated RVT school approval criteria, and working with the California Horse Racing Board to develop regulations on the use of authorized medications that are given to racehorses on horse racing day. What are improvements that are still need to be made? The board's goals, as stated in its 2015-2019 strategic plan, include enhanced quality and training of hospital inspectors, inspecting existing hospitals within 1 year of registration. The board is continuing to focus its resources towards improving its enforcement timelines, examining standards for training RVTs, developing minimum standards of practice for alternate practice types, such as shelter medicine, large animal, mobile practices, and working with its partners in the state on the judicious use of antibiotics, not just in food animals, but in all areas of veterinary practice. So we've been asked to address a number of issues. The first issue I'm going to hand over to our executive director.